Hi, I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to read you the story of Ashley, which is titled like this. I gave them a $30,000 car, and they sold it to pay for my sister's fancy graduation party, where I wasn't even invited. I didn't say anything. A month later Mom said, "Buy me a new car for my birthday." I gave her what she deserves. Well, let's go. So this whole mess started on a Tuesday when I was sitting at my desk trying to finish up some quarterly reports. I work for this big tech company downtown and I've worked hard to get where I am. Senior Director of Operations, decent salary, my own apartment in a nice part of town. Life was pretty good, you know? Then my phone rings and it's Mom. Which is never a good sign because she only calls when she needs something. "Ashley, honey, can you come over tonight? We really need to talk to you about something important." I could hear that tone in her voice. The one that meant they were about to ask me for money again. I'm 34 years old and I've been dealing with this since I started making decent money about 5 years ago. "What's going on, Mom?" "Just come over after work, okay? Your father and I really need to discuss something with you." Great, I knew exactly what this was about. Ever since I got promoted and started pulling in 6 figures, my parents have turned into professional beggars. It's always something. The roof needs fixing, the washing machine died, medical bills, utility payments. You name it, they've asked me to pay for it. Don't get me wrong, I love my parents. Dad worked construction his whole life until his back gave out 3 years ago. Mom's been working part-time at a grocery store forever. They're not bad people, they've gotten used to me being their personal ATM. And then there's my sister Emma. She's 22, 12 years younger than me, and about to graduate college next month. We've never been close because of the age gap. When she was a kid, I was already in high school trying to figure out my own life. By the time she was old enough to actually have conversations with, I was in college and then working. The thing is, Emma has always made it clear she doesn't like me. I mean, really doesn't like me. I tried to bond with her when she was in high school, but she'd just roll her eyes and walk away. Mom and Dad always said she was just going through a phase, but honestly, I think she's always resented me for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm the successful one and she's still figuring things out. Maybe it's because our parents compare us sometimes. I don't know and I've stopped trying to understand it. So anyway, I drove over to their house after work, already mentally calculating how much this was going to cost me. Their house is in this older neighborhood where everything's starting to fall apart. The paint's peeling, the driveway has cracks, and their ancient Honda has been making weird noises for months. I knocked and walked in like I always do. Mom and Dad were sitting at the kitchen table looking all serious and nervous. "Sit down, sweetheart," Mom said, patting the chair next to her. Dad cleared his throat. "Ashley, you know we wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate." "Here we go. The car finally died yesterday," Mom said, wringing her hands. "The mechanic says it's not worth fixing. The transmission is shot and it would cost more than the car's worth." I looked out the window and sure enough, their beat-up Honda was sitting there looking even more pathetic than usual. "We can't afford a car payment," Dad continued, "not with everything else going on. And we really need a car, you know? Your mother has to get to work, I have doctor appointments." They both looked at me with these hopeful, desperate expressions. I felt that familiar weight settling on my shoulders. The weight of being the family success story, the one everyone turns to when things get tough. I sighed heavily. "How much are we talking about?" "Not much," Mom said quickly. "Just something reliable, used, maybe 10 or 15,000? "Right, because $10 to $15,000 is pocket change. But here's the thing, I make good money, I've got savings. And despite everything, these are my parents. I can't just let them sit there without a car." "Okay," I said, "I'll help you guys out." Their faces lit up like Christmas morning. Mom actually started crying and Dad reached over to squeeze my hand. So that weekend I found myself at Johnson's auto sales with my parents, watching them act like kids in a candy store. I should have known this wasn't going to be the simple reliable used car for 10 grand situation they'd pitched to me. "Oh Ashley, look at this one," Mom called out, practically bouncing over to this shiny blue sedan. "It's so pretty." Dad was already talking to some salesman about features and warranties and God knows what else. I walked over to check the sticker price and nearly choked on my coffee. $28,000. "Mom, this is way more than we talked about," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "But honey, look how nice it is. And it's got all these safety features. You want us to be safe, don't you?" The salesman, this guy named Rick, jumped right in. "This model gets excellent reviews for reliability. Your parents deserve something they can count on for years to come." I wanted to punch Rick in his fake smile face. "We were thinking more like 15,000, I told him. "Oh, well, let me show you what we have in that range," Rick said, leading us to the back of the lot where all the cars looked like they'd been through a war zone. Mom took one look at a dented Honda and wrinkled her nose. "Ashley, these look so old and beat up. What if they break down? Then we'll be right back where we started." Dad nodded along. "Maybe we should look at something a little newer, sweetheart, just to be safe." This is how it always goes with them. Start with a reasonable request, then gradually work their way up to something way more expensive. And somehow I'm always the bad guy if I say no. We spent 3 hours at that dealership. 3 hours of my weekend listening to Rick's sales pitch and watching my parents fall in love with increasingly expensive cars. Finally, they settled on this silver Toyota Camry for $30,000. "It's only $2,000 more than the blue one," Mom said, like that made it reasonable. "And look, it has heated seats." I stood there looking at this car that cost more than some people make in a year, thinking about how this was supposed to be their transportation, not their luxury vehicle. But then I looked at their faces. They were so excited, so hopeful. Dad was actually smiling for the first time in months. The paperwork took forever. Rick kept trying to sell us extended warranties and protection plans and all sorts of other crap. I shut that down pretty quick, but then came the insurance discussion. "Oh, we hadn't thought about insurance," Mom said, looking panicked. Of course they hadn't. "The insurance will probably be pretty expensive on a new car like this," Dad added quietly. By the time we were done, I'd spent over $32,000 including the insurance deposit and registration fees. But seeing my parents drive off in their new car, both of them grinning like teenagers, I felt okay about it. They'd struggled for so long, maybe they deserved something nice for once. They decided to have a little celebration dinner that night at their house. "Just family," they said. So I showed up with a bottle of wine, expecting a quiet evening. Emma was there when I arrived, home from college for the weekend. She was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Hey Emma," I said, trying to be friendly, "how's school going?" "Almost done, right?" She looked up just long enough to roll her eyes. "It's fine." "Great, same old Emma." I tried not to let it bother me, but honestly, after spending 30 grand on a car for our parents, a little basic politeness would have been nice. Mom had made pot roast and mashed potatoes, nothing fancy but it smelled amazing. We all sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where they'd asked me for help just a few days earlier. "Let's have a toast," Dad said, raising his beer, "to Ashley, for making this possible." "We're so grateful, sweetheart." "To Ashley," Mom chimed in, raising her wine glass. I felt myself getting a little emotional. Despite all the money stress, this felt nice. Like a real family moment. Then I noticed Emma. She was sitting there with this sour expression, not raising her glass, not saying anything. When Mom and Dad looked at her expectantly, she just shrugged and took a sip of her soda. "Emma, aren't you going to thank your sister?" Mom asked. "For what?" "She didn't buy me anything." The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. "Emma," Dad said in his warning voice. "What?" "I'm just saying, everyone's acting like she's some kind of hero, but she just wrote a check. It's not like she built the car herself." I felt my face getting hot. "I'm sorry, what?" Nothing, Emma said, going back to her phone. Forget it. But I couldn't forget it. This was exactly the kind of shit she always pulled. Making little digs, acting like everything I did was no big deal or somehow wrong. The rest of dinner was awkward as hell. Mom and Dad kept trying to make conversation, but Emma just sat there radiating attitude. Every time they mentioned the car or thanked me again, she'd sigh or roll her eyes or make some snide comment under her breath. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. You know what, I should probably head home, early day tomorrow. Oh, don't go yet, Mom said, we were going to have dessert. Thanks, but I'm pretty tired. Emma looked up from her phone. Bye, she said flatly. Not, thanks for buying our parents a car, or see you later, or even drive safe. Just bye in the most dismissive tone possible. I hugged Mom and Dad goodbye and got the hell out of there. The whole drive home I kept thinking about Emma's attitude. I mean, I know we're not close, but would it kill her to show a little appreciation? Or at least basic human decency? But whatever. I'd done a good thing for my parents. That's what mattered. Emma could stay bitter and resentful if she wanted to. That was her problem, not mine. A month went by and things went back to normal. Well, normal for my family anyway. Mom called twice asking for money for small things, once for some plumbing issue that cost $400, and another time for Dad's prescription medications that insurance didn't fully cover. Another $300 down the drain. I was starting to feel like a walking ATM, but whatever. At least they had their car and seemed happy with it. Then I got this weird call from my cousin Jessica. Jess and I have always gotten along pretty well. We're about the same age and we have this running joke about showing up to family events in identical outfits. It's happened like 6 times over the years and now we always check with each other before family stuff. Hey Ash, she said, sounding all excited. So what are you planning to wear to Emma's graduation party? I found this cute black dress but I want to make sure we don't do the twin thing again. I almost dropped my phone. What graduation party? Emma's graduation party? At that fancy country club, the Riverside Resort? She sent me this beautiful invitation like 2 weeks ago. I felt this cold feeling creeping up my spine. Jess, I have no idea what you're talking about. What country club? Oh shit, there was a long pause. Okay, so Emma's having this huge graduation celebration at Riverside Resort. It's like this super expensive place with a restaurant and hotel rooms. The invitation said it's a 2-day event. I just assumed. I mean, I figured you knew all about it. My head was spinning. Riverside Resort is this ridiculously upscale place about an hour outside the city. I'd driven past it a few times and always wondered who could afford to have events there. Apparently, my 22-year-old sister who's still in college. Jess, where the hell did Emma get money for something like that? I don't know, I just assumed your parents were paying for it. Or maybe you were helping out. After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone for like 10 minutes. This made no sense. My parents are always broke. Emma doesn't have a job. She's been in college for 4 years and as far as I know, she's been living off student loans and whatever money Mom and Dad could spare. So where did she get the cash for a 2-day party at one of the most expensive venues in the area? But more importantly, why wasn't I invited? I mean, I knew Emma didn't like me, but not inviting me to her college graduation party? That's just cruel. I decided to call her directly and ask what the hell was going on. What do you want, Ashley? She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding annoyed that I even existed. Hey Emma, so I just heard about your graduation party from Jessica. Why I haven't gotten an invitation? Because you're not invited. Just like that, cold as ice, no explanation, no apology, nothing. Excuse me? You heard me, you're not invited to my party. I felt like I'd been slapped. Emma, why would you not invite your own sister to your graduation party? Because I don't want you there. I've never wanted you around, Ashley. I'm tired of your condescending attitude and your constant lectures about responsibility and making good choices. This is my day and I don't want you ruining it. I don't lecture you. Bullshit, every time we're in the same room, you're either bragging about your job or giving me advice I didn't ask for or making these little comments about how I need to get my life together. I'm sick of it. Emma, that's not. And don't even think about showing up anyway, she continued, her voice getting nastier. I've already told the security at the country club not to let you in. So don't embarrass yourself by trying. Then she hung up on me. I sat there holding my phone, completely stunned. I mean, I knew Emma and I weren't close, but this was beyond anything I'd expected. She actively hated me. And she was going out of her way to hurt me. But I still couldn't get past the money issue. Where did she get the funds for this elaborate party? The next evening I drove over to my parents' house after work. I needed to talk to them about Emma's behavior and maybe get some answers about how she was paying for this country club extravaganza. When I pulled into their driveway, the first thing I noticed was that their new car wasn't there. The driveway was empty except for some oil stains where it usually sat. I knocked and walked in. Mom, Dad, and Emma were all sitting in the living room. Emma saw me and immediately rolled her eyes. What are you doing here? She snapped. Nobody invited you. Emma, that's enough, Dad said, but he didn't sound very convincing. I looked around the room. Mom and Dad both looked uncomfortable, like they'd been caught doing something they shouldn't have been doing. Where's your car? I asked. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom, Dad, where's the car I bought you? Mom finally spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. We sold it. I felt like the room was spinning. Are you out of your minds? I just bought you that car a month ago. Emma needed money for her graduation party, Dad said quietly. It was the only way we could help her. I turned to look at Emma, who was sitting there with this smug expression on her face. So let me get this straight, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You sold the car I bought for you to pay for a party that I'm not even invited to? Technically, the car was in my name, so I had every right to sell it, Mom said defensively. Emma leaned back in her chair, looking pleased with herself. I told them I wanted a nice graduation party and they figured out how to make it happen. That's what parents do. With my money, I shouted. It stopped being your money the minute you gave it to them, Emma shot back. The car belonged to Mom legally. She could do whatever she wanted with it. I looked at all three of them. Mom wringing her hands but not apologizing. Dad staring at the floor like he was ashamed but not ashamed enough to actually do anything about it. And Emma sitting there like she'd just won the lottery. So you sold a $30,000 car to pay for your spoiled brat daughter's party, and you didn't even have the decency to invite me? Ashley, please don't be like this, Mom said. Emma's graduation is important. More important than having reliable transportation? More important than the fact that I specifically bought that car so you two wouldn't have to worry about getting around? Nobody answered. I looked at Emma one more time. You know what? You're right. You did get exactly what you wanted, congratulations. I turned around and walked out. Nobody called after me, nobody tried to stop me, nobody apologized. I sat in my car in their driveway for a few minutes, trying to process what had just happened. Then I drove home and poured myself a very large glass of wine. 3 days later, Emma's Instagram was full of pictures from her graduation party. The country club looked amazing. There were photos of expensive food, professional decorations, and Emma wearing what looked like a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. All paid for with money from selling the car I'd bought for my parents. I was done. Absolutely done with all of them. A month passed and I didn't hear a word from any of them. Not a single phone call, text message, or even a Facebook like. It was like I didn't exist, which honestly was fine by me. I was sleeping better than I had in years without constantly worrying about the next financial crisis they'd drag me into. Then my phone rang on a Tuesday morning. Mom's name popped up on the screen and for a second I considered not answering. But curiosity got the better of me. Hi Ashley, she said in that fake cheerful voice she uses when she wants something. How are you doing, sweetie? I'm fine, Mom, what do you want? Well, you know my birthday is next week, and I was thinking. Let me guess, you need money for something. Actually, I was hoping you might buy me a new car for my birthday. I literally laughed out loud. Are you goddamn seriously asking me that right now? Ashley, language, and yes, I'm serious. We really need a car. It's been so difficult getting around without one. Your father has all those doctor appointments and I can barely get to work. Mom, you had a car, a brand new car that I bought you. You sold my gift to you to pay for a party I wasn't even invited to. And now you have the nerve to call me asking for another car? Ashley, please, we're struggling here. You make good money, and we're your parents. Family is supposed to help each other. The audacity was breathtaking. Help each other? When have you ever helped me, Mom? When have any of you ever done anything for me besides ask for money? That's not fair, Ashley, we love you. No, you love my paycheck, there's a difference. There was a pause, then she switched tactics. Started crying, of course. Please, baby, I'm turning 58 next week. All I want for my birthday is to have reliable transportation again. Is that too much to ask from my successful daughter? Yes, it is too much to ask, especially after what you did. We had no choice, Emma's graduation was important. More important than having integrity? More important than respecting the fact that I spent $30,000 trying to help you? Ashley, I'm expecting a car from you for my birthday. That's what I want and that's what I'm asking for. Then she hung up on me. I sat there staring at my phone, absolutely floored by the conversation. She wasn't even pretending to be sorry about selling the first car. She just expected me to buy them another one like it was no big deal. That's when I got an idea, a petty, vindictive, absolutely perfect idea. I went to my computer and found the photos I'd taken of their new car the day we bought it. I picked the best one, printed it out on nice photo paper, and put it in a small gift box along with a note that said, "Here's the car you asked for. This is all you deserve after proving you're ungrateful, manipulative people. Don't ever ask me for money again." On Mom's birthday, I sent her a text, "Happy birthday, Mom, I won't be coming to your party today." She texted back, "That's probably for the best. Emma doesn't want to see you anyway. But I'm still expecting my gift." She actually used a car emoji, the woman had no shame. I called a courier service and had them deliver my gift box to the house. About an hour later, I got a notification that it had been delivered. Then I sat back and waited. It didn't take long, 30 minutes later, my phone started ringing nonstop. First Mom, then Dad, then Emma, then Mom again. I let it ring and ring, watching their names pop up on my screen over and over. Finally, after Mom's 10th call, I answered. "You horrible girl," she screamed into the phone, "how could you do this to me?" "Do what, Mom?" "I gave you exactly what you asked for, a car for your birthday." "It's a darn photograph." "Yes, it is, it's a photograph of the car I bought you that you sold to pay for your precious daughter's party." I opened that box in front of everyone. In front of all my friends. They saw the photo and your nasty note. You humiliated me. Good, now you know how I felt when you sold my gift without even telling me. That was different. No, it wasn't, you took something I gave you out of love and threw it away for Emma's benefit. So now you get a picture of what you had and lost. Seems fair to me. You're horrible, you're a horrible daughter. And you're a horrible mother, we're even. I hung up. The calls and texts started immediately. Dad calling me selfish and heartless. Emma sending me a long message calling me every name in the book and telling me I was a pathetic loser who would die alone. Mom alternating between begging me to buy her a real car and cursing me out for embarrassing her. I blocked all their numbers. Over the next few weeks, they tried everything. They showed up at my apartment, but I wouldn't open the door. I just called through it that I was done with them and they needed to leave. They came to my office, but I had security escort them out. Finally, they stopped trying. It's been 6 months now since I cut them off completely. I found out through my cousin Jessica that Emma is still living at home with mom and dad, and she hasn't been able to find a decent job yet. Apparently, her communications degree isn't opening as many doors as she thought it would. Mom has been telling everyone who will listen that I abandoned my family, that I'm cruel and heartless for not helping them financially. She's even been asking other relatives for money, claiming I left them high and dry. But you know what? I don't care anymore. I've got my own life to live. I'm dating someone new, a guy I met at a work conference who has his own successful career and doesn't expect me to bankroll his family's lifestyle. I'm taking vacations I couldn't afford before because I was always giving money to my parents. I'm saving for a house, building my own future instead of constantly bailing other people out of theirs. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh with the photo thing. But then I remember Emma's smug face when she told me the car wasn't really mine anymore. I remember Mom casually mentioning that they sold it like it was no big deal. I remember being excluded from my own sister's graduation party after paying for her college tuition for 4 years. Nah, I'm not sorry, they made their choices, and I made mine. I've learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who only see you as a resource to be exploited. Even if those people are family. Emma wanted me out of her life? She got her wish. Mom wanted a car for her birthday? She got one, just not the way she expected. And me? I got my freedom, I got my self-respect back, I got a life where I'm not constantly being manipulated and taken advantage of. Best trade I ever made.